Okay, we'll give you a few more moments to write this down. But what I was talking about, for those of you who weren't here on Friday, or excuse me, for those of you who were here on Friday, or here on Thursday, okay, what new compound did we write up on the board that has 6 sides to it? Benzene. That's what I was looking for. Okay? It's not one where I'm walking around and saying, you didn't do this. And it's just one of those opportunities that even though you're not here, we keep moving forward. It's your responsibility as a student athlete to do that. Okay? Some of that is a review, some of that is new material. Okay. Sorry. Yes. They're same color, but yeah, 2 different ones. Okay. Someone pick a compound. Top left, top right, bottom right. Top right? Okay. So, what is everything that you can tell me about this? In other words, what does it mean where 2 lines intersect each other? There's a carbon atom there. Okay? So, our rules for naming these has not changed. What is the very first thing that we want you to do when you see, this is what we call a ring structure. So how many carbons does that have?
5.
What is the prefix for 5? Okay? So we know we have that, pentane. But there's probably something a little more specific that we would need. We can't just look at this and say pentane, because what's true about this? What is that called? You said a pentane as well. So these obviously are not the same thing because this is a geometrical shape. So the way that you keep them separate, okay, just take it off and set it down. You can even let it hang around your ears and droop around that. I really don't care, as long as it's not up on your head, all right? All right, so how we keep these separate, okay, when it comes to ring structures, any ring structure with the exception of benzene, you put 1 prefix in front of this. Okay? Cyclo. Okay? If it is a ring structure, except for which compound? Except for benzene. Okay? You can for that compound, but it's a little more confusing if you go by the specific name. Okay? And it's one of those things to where we can dive deeper into this and give you a common example. And that is, how many of you remember doing dissections in 7th grade? Yeah, exactly, frogs. How did those frogs smell? Probably not very good. But one of the things that I like people telling me all the time is, you're dissecting cats. Well, we'll give you all the cats that you need. But does anyone think they might know a problem, other than being unethical and being mean, But does anyone think they might know a problem with just someone supplying us with cats? So let's say, for instance, farmer has a few cats, so takes his .22 rifle, very carefully shoots that cat. Says, well, here's a specimen for you. I said, besides being mean and unethical, is there a problem with that supplying us with fresh cats in that manner? Do you think? What might happen with that specimen by about, if this is on a Monday, by about Thursday or Friday? It's going to rot and smell. And it's not that those frogs smelled any better, but this that is an actual organic compound. It's called methanol. But no one will call that methanol. Okay? They're going to call it this instead. Can you read that maybe? Because I know I don't have the best handwriting. I understand that. Formaldehyde. That is a preservative that specimens are placed into so that once you put them in the fridge, the tissues do not decompose. You don't. If you're writing this down, fine, but it's just one of those. We're making a point here. Like we said, you can call benzene cyclohexene if you wanted to, but no one's going to call it that. No one's going to say methanol. They're going to say formaldehyde instead. Okay? That's the point we're trying to make. Because we did another one where we called it, no one's going to say ethine. They're going to say what instead? No, not ethyl. We said it's in a cutting torch. Yeah, it starts with an A. Acetylene. Okay? All right. So we've taken care of this compound. So with this, do you think, could these be isomers of one another? They both have 5 carbons. Isomer is the same molecular formula, but a different structure. Those are isomers of one another. Okay, let's take a look. What is the formula for this straight chain of pentane? C5 what? H12. Okay. What is the formula for this cyclopentane? We know it has 5. So anytime a carbon atom just has a dash on it, I forgot one there. If it doesn't have anything written on here, what can you presume, what atom or element is that? Right. So then what would you guess these dashes here mean? Those are hydrogen atoms. So with every intersection, each carbon atom is bonded to another one, just like what we see here. But how many hydrogen atoms are on this ring? So this carbon atom has how many hydrogens? This one. A lot of you are saying 2. That's correct. So 5 times 2. Those are not isomers of one another. Okay? So it's still on your head. Okay? Now, so there's our upper right compound. Questions on this? Okay? Okay, which one's next? Lower right or left-hand side? And we don't have to do any of these. I'm not upset if we don't. We're doing this for yourselves. Okay, bottom left. Okay, The very first thing you want to do, just like every other compound, is what? The longest chain. And how many is that? Okay. So what's the prefix for 4? Okay. So is there anything branching off of that butane? Yes, there is. Where are those branches occurring? Okay. So X marks the spot. So inside this box, what is the formula inside that box? You have one carbon, CH3. Inside this box, CH3. Okay? So then what is the name of any compound that has a formula, or not compound, of any molecule that has a formula of CH3? It's a derivative. It's a methyl group. Okay? So therefore, where are those methyl groups located? Because you said it earlier. Okay? So we've got on our second carbon. Okay? Now, this is redundant. I understand that. This is just how we do things. The example we gave is if you want to know the distance around this circle, at some point you have to multiply by what number? By pi. You just do it that way. That's just the way mathematics work. Okay? So for the same reason, there's a derivative here on the second carbon. And then, is that the only one? No, there's another one, but is it on the same carbon? Yeah, that can happen. So you have to put both numbers. I understand that's redundant. The point we're making is just like with mathematics, finding a circumference, you have to multiply by 3.14 at some point. That's just the way that mathematics works. This is just the way that we have to name this. Okay. So we've located the carbons, but what is it that's branching off of there? Okay. So then we're getting closer. But what happens if you have two methyl groups? You have to write di on there. That is how you would name this compound. 2,2 dimethyl butane. Okay. So what I want to do is you don't have to write this down. We're just making a connection. What compound would this be called? Hexane. So what's the formula for this hexane? Well, it's got 6 in there somewhere because you just said hex. C6H14. Okay? What is the molecular formula for this entire compound? How many total carbons do you have? What does this and this have in common because it's the same molecular formula? Those are isomers of one another. Okay? And what that means is isomers just have different properties of them. And what we mean by that is for anyone who's received the flu shot or any vaccination, okay, the nurse will walk in and opens up a little packet, maybe pulls out this little packet and then swabs your arm, your shoulder, wherever. Okay? What are they swabbing that with? Exactly. It's a type of alcohol. Why are people putting alcohol on your arms? Yeah, it sterilizes. It's a type of bacteria. So, does that alcohol feel cold? That is a physical property. So what we mean by that is these will have different physical properties. Okay? And that's why isomers are so important. Okay? Not at this level, probably not even at the junior level. But for those of you who decide to take senior level chemistry, well, this is biochemistry up here, okay, those concepts get to be more important. Okay. Can we erase this? Okay. All right. So, top left or bottom right? Top left. Okay. What's the very first thing that you're going to want to do? Find your longest continuous chain, which is how many? Okay? Can we do that? We've seen that a couple times. No. Why is that incorrect? Okay. It has a double bond in it, so what does that mean? It's pentene. Okay? There's only one more thing that we have to do with that pentene compound. Exactly. So are we going to put a digit of 2 or 3? Okay? And I'm just curious, why would we do that? It's just a question. Why would we put the number 2 there instead of the number 3? One of you. I'm just asking. Why are you putting 2 there instead of 3? You want the smallest number. That's right. Because if we go this direction, what do we get? We'll just put a box here and an X here. So if we go this direction, we get 2. We go that direction, we get 3. Okay? Better pick this up before I trip over it again. Okay. Front row, are you with us so far? Is that yes? Yes? Oh. Yeah. Your thumb blended in with your Oakley design. Okay.
Oh, not that way, bro.
Oh, with the K on there. Okay? Now. Back row. All right. Okay. So, why does this maybe look to be, you want to save this one for last because maybe this looked to be the most difficult? Maybe. Okay? Nothing's changed. What's the first thing that you do? And that is what? Okay? So just right above there. Notice, why are we putting ANE there instead of ENE? Because there's no double bonds in there. This is completely saturated. Okay? Is there anything branching off of that butane? There is. On which carbon? X marks the spot. Okay? We're not going this direction because you get 3. We're going that direction, so you get 2. And what element is that? It's chlorine, but when we name it as a derivative, 2-chlorobutane. Okay? All right. And that's what so there's 3 derivatives so far. Our first derivative we learned was this one, which is called a methyl group. Our second derivative that we learned is this. What group is that called? That is an ethyl group. Then our third derivative that we learned is this one, and we just call these them halogen derivatives. Okay? So what might be another example of a halogen derivative? You would have to have your periodic table to name that. What's another halogen derivative we could use? That's one. Fluorine, that's right. Bromine, yep. Iodine. Okay? So, is anyone in here, if they don't mind answering, who in here has had surgery before? Okay? So, if you have had surgery before, I believe this is the compound. Okay? This is a type of gas, and we know that because what would this be called? Just 3 carbons, 8 hydrogens. That would be called propane. But the moment you start attaching these halogen derivatives on there, it changes the properties of that gas. That's one where chances are the nurse says, puts a mask on you, says take a couple deep breaths, and all of a sudden you pass out. Okay? This gas is called halothane. Okay? This halothane is a type of substance that's used that we could say renders you unconscious, because what it does is then once the physician, surgeon, doctor, whatever, takes their knife and starts cutting into you, you don't feel it because you've taken that halothane. And that's what makes anesthetics so important. It allows you, or allows the surgeon, to safely operate inside a person's human body, because you do not want a sharp object moving close to a vital artery. Because you puncture that artery, all of a sudden blood's going to start pouring out of there. Okay. So, then finally, just a couple other things we want to go over. What is that compound called? If you were here on Thursday, chances are you know this. This is called benzene. Okay? Okay? There's also a different way that you can write this. Okay? And it's actually how I would prefer that you do that, because this is what we call a special aromatic ring. This means the exact same thing. When you put a circle inside that 6-sided figure, that means you're talking about benzene. That's all that means. It's just a way simpler way to draw this compound. Okay? Because when you take higher classes of chemistry, if you have to draw something like this, okay, it's just a lot easier to draw. Don't draw this. We're just making a connection. It's just always easier to do it in this fashion, rather than all the hydrogen atoms here and all the double bonds. This just means alternating double bonds inside of there. So what's the formula for this compound? C6H6. Okay? So that's where we left off with on Thursday. Okay, so we pick up with this. So, this is what we just talked about. Okay? So, is it possible that we wrote this down, or is this just where we start? Okay, so then this is where we left off with. Okay, so this aromatic compound we just called is 6 carbons, 6 hydrogens, is known as benzene. And one of the things that I believe was last Wednesday, Mrs. Herbert was in here, and the example we gave was perhaps your grandparents, if they have sore joints, the doctor may prescribe giving them a what type of shot? Starts with a C. Cortisone shot. Okay? No, it doesn't have anything to do with benzene, but what we're talking about is cortisone is a type of steroid that is a whole bunch of these fused rings together. That's what makes benzene so important, is that you can start building upon a basic framework. And that's what we're referring to here. Okay? There's just a couple of other things that we want to go over. So I would be led to believe whether you have the track meet tomorrow or not, I'm guessing not. That has no effect upon whether you're in this class or not. I mean, you might be dismissed now or maybe at 11:20, but you'd still be in here tomorrow regardless. Is that correct, track students? Okay. 10:45, that's Thursday. I know that for a fact, but I'm talking about tomorrow. Okay. Okay. I'm just asking because Alcester Hudson was not on the original schedule. Okay. So I think that must have been postponed, delayed, or moved to tomorrow's date. Okay. So, one thing, I'm trying to pass this on to you. I'm trying to help you out. If you are gone, what is your responsibility? Someone's got to know in here, I would think. True. Yeah, watch the Science Channel. Okay? I mean, it's just a tool that you can use to help yourself out. All right. So I want to do this one. Okay. We'll talk about substituted hydrocarbons tomorrow. We made reference to that today. So I want to give you a little bit of time for what we have on today's schedule. Yes?
On Wednesday, our whole class is gone besides like 2 people.
Oh,
For an field trip.
okay. So just go down to substituted hydrocarbons. Yes, we did talk about that today, but we will not go any further into that. Does everyone have this content down here? That okay? Okay, I think we can stop there. We'll catch up to you next time.